Shalom, I'm Rabbi Michael Panitz. I'm the Rabbi of Temple Israel of Norfolk, Virginia, speaking to you from the pulpit of our congregation. This is the third in a four-part series of the Festival of Hanukkah. This message is entitled The Americanization of Hanukkah. Hanukkah, we like to say, is the festival of lights. In the previous message, we enjoyed a culinary world tour of Hanukkah celebrations. But for the heart of Hanukkah observance, the kindling of lamps, candles, or bulbs, let us focus on the American scene. Of course, the tradition of lighting the Chanukiah, house by house, remains the Jewish norm. Indeed, Hanukkah lighting has resisted assimilation better than many other Jewish holiday practices. The 2020 Pew Research Group survey of American Jewish religious engagement revealed that 90% of the respondents who identified themselves as, quote, Jews by religion, owned a menorah. That was a significantly higher percentage than the respondents who said they owned a mezuzah, a Hebrew language prayer book, or a Passover Seder plate. And yet, in America, the domestic celebration of the December holiday somehow isn't enough. When America was demographically composed of mostly Christian settlers, Christmas was prominent in the public square. Judicial rulings since the mid-20th century to keep the public square non-sectarian have been met by intense right-wing Christian opposition. Along with Ten Commandments displays in public schools, Christmas displays in public areas are a front in the evangelical Christian campaign seeking state recognition of their definition of America. From the 1940s through the 1970s, mainline Jewish groups arguing for the separation of church and state used to lobby to keep the celebration of Christmas and Hanukkah confined to private spaces. The first main dissenter from the Jewish consensus was Chabad. In 1974, the late Grand Rabbi of the sect, Rabbi Menachem Schneerson, called for the lighting of a ceremonial menorah in public spaces. Now, what is more public than the White House? 5 years later, a Hasidic rabbi, Avraham Shem Tov, sought to place a Chanukiah on the White House lawn. Initially, the Secretary of the Interior rejected the petition on First Amendment grounds. But President Carter's domestic policy advisor, Stuart Eisenstadt, addressed those concerns, and a permit was granted. President Carter lit the menorah at Lafayette Park, just across Pennsylvania Avenue from the White House. Every president since has presided over a Chanukiah lighting ceremony. In 1982, President Reagan named it, quote, the National Menorah. Presidents have also participated in Hanukkah events in the White House. George H.W. Bush attended a White House staff Hanukkah party in 1991. In 1993, Bill Clinton conducted a menorah lighting in the Oval Office. He had to use his hands to snuff out the smoke because one of the 6-year-olds at the ceremony, Ilana Katan, singed her ponytail on the flame of a candle. Clinton's presidency was also notable for the issue of the first United States postage stamp honoring Hanukkah, as you can see. In 2001, George W. Bush presided over the first official White House Hanukkah party, using a borrowed Chanukiah from the Jewish Museum. The 2010 White House Hanukkah party featured a Chanukiah salvaged from a synagogue devastated by Hurricane Katrina, and Hanukkah melodies performed by the U.S. Marine Band. In 2022, President Biden added a newly designed menorah to the White House collection. It was fashioned from wood salvaged from the White House building itself during the Truman-era renovation, and its 9 candle holders were inspired by a Thomas Jefferson design. Again, as you can see. In terms of the battle for public space, the Chanukiah has its share, along with the national Christmas tree and a growing assemblage of other traditions' symbols. But that is not the sum of the Americanization of Hanukkah. We should also address the capitalist commercial nature of American life. Christian leaders sometimes lament the commercialization of Christmas. I suspect that they lament in vain, for in America, Christmas gift giving may be the most widespread aspect of the engagement of self-described Christians in their religion. Indeed, Hanukkah is not far behind. We all know the variations on the theme of 8 gifts for 8 nights, and we know that part of that impetus is to help our children avoid the feeling of marginalization at this time of year. What intrigues me is the Christianizing of Hanukkah gift-giving. It has received its baptism, if I may be pardoned the metaphor. Consider the popular tradition of the Christmas sweater. While I make no claims to being an arbiter of good taste, in my unprofessional judgment, it seems as if Americans allow themselves a season of excess in this one garment. It is as if they are supersizing a Big Mac in the domain of sweaters. The, quote, jingle bell sweaters of the 1980s were a stepping stone in this fashion trend. By the new millennium, the ugly sweater was a thing. Since 2002, Vancouver, British Columbia has hosted an ugly sweater party in its Commodore Ballroom, enforcing its dress code. Time for us to enjoy the sight of matching ugly Christmas and ugly Hanukkah sweaters, as 2 of my college students were proud to model, as you can see. In this matching set of sweaters, the Christmas Yama comes bearing gifts, and the Hanukkah Yama supports its menorah. What's next? You don't have to guess, I will tell you. Hanukkah-themed dog sweaters. And here is the proof, as you can see. We could protest that Hanukkah, the noble festival of religious freedom, has been subdued by the banal. Or we could recognize that a religious theme interacts with culture at many levels, and we could save our ire for more dangerous challenges, of which there are plenty. I, for one, am inclined to look with indulgence on ugly Hanukkah sweaters, cute menorah dog vests, and the like. As long as we don't get lost in the glitter and remember the basic point. This is a festival of freedom. Don't forget that freedom needs to be fought for over and over. And don't forget, when you have the freedom to be yourself, to go ahead and be yourself, not simply a clone of the local majority. I will close with the Israeli children's song lyric about the Hanukkah lights. Banu choshech ligaresh. We have come to banish darkness. There's plenty of darkness in the world. Enjoy the food, the festivities, the camaraderie, but never stop working to banish the darkness. Amen.